Talented young steel pan players in Labori St. Lucia fine-tuned their arrangements for a special concert in the community on Sunday, June 19th. The members of the Labori Pan project were looking forward to participating in the Junior Panorama competition this month, but the event has since been postponed. They have decided to put their hundreds of hours of practice to good use with a concert at the Labori Market Square.
The Junior Panorama competition has been rescheduled, but the sweet sound of pan music will go on in the community of Labri this weekend. The Labri Pan Project, which is celebrating a decade of nurturing young musicians, will host a free concert at the Labri Market Square on Sunday, June 19th. Arranger Andreas Edwin says the theme of the event is youth empowerment through music. The project is an initiative of Laboe Promotions and started in November 2006 with the support of the Cultural Development Foundation and the Poverty Reduction Fund. Approximately 100 residents between the ages of 6 and 20 have benefited from the program. Edwin says those at the helm of the project work hard to bring the many benefits of music to the lives of the youth. Co-arranger Joshua Mathura says Sunday's event will set the stage for the young panists to show the results of months of intense practice for Junior Panorama. The free concert will kick off a year-long 10th anniversary celebration for the Labri Steel Pan project. The organizers are appealing for public support for the youth. The concert is scheduled for 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Labri Market Square.
The largest gathering of biodiversity experts of Guyana's Shield will assemble in Georgetown in just over a month's time. The experts will look at several areas like the protection of the natural resources found in Guyana's Shield and their maintenance. More from Handel Duncan.
August 8 to 12 this year, Ghana will host the 4th International Congress on Biodiversity of the Ghana Shield. The Congress, which can be considered heavily academic, primarily looks at how the Ghana Shield can better manage its rich natural resources through policy development, the exchange of best practices and other approaches.
Persons in academia, indigenous groups and so on to get together and share information and share their work and maybe even learn from each other, share resources, maybe work on joint proposals. That's something that we have started doing for years, and even now we're intensifying that.
Considered a big event for the Ghana Shield, the Congress being held under the theme Leveraging Our High Endemicity, Cultural Diversity and Intact Ecosystems for Inclusive Growth and Secure Futures will bring together the largest gathering of experts on biodiversity in the Ghanas.
The Congress really is organized to meet a number of expectations, and these include dissemination of information and promoting actions to protect and conserve fragile and critical ecosystems, also highlighting the research as I discussed before throughout the region and sharing lessons learned. Also looking for opportunities to collaborate, not only in research but also training opportunities as well, because some countries have more expertise than others in some areas.
Apart from the scientific basis of the Congress, Vice Chair of the local organizing committee Vanessa Ben explains the significance of the event for the ordinary man.
Persons are concerned about flooding, about the effects of not taking care of their litter in a proper manner, of having a better understanding of what climate change is and what the effects of such what the effects of such events can have on their daily lives. This is an opportunity for them to have such exposure. Not all the sessions are going to be, very purely scientific, but also will reach the housewife, as you mentioned, will also reach the average person.
Countries like Ghana, Suriname, French Guiana, Brazil, Colombia and Venezuela are expected to participate. This spans countries from within and outside the Shield. The International Congress on Biodiversity of the Ghana Shield was last held in Paramaribo, Suriname in August 2013. IBG 2016 has been organized by the Ghana Society for Biodiversity and Ecosystems, a local non-governmental organization through its affiliation with the IBG and in association with the government of Ghana.
The Caribbean is being told to brace for La Nina weather conditions this summer. Meteorologists caution the Caribbean to brace for La Nina weather conditions.
Weather forecasters are predicting that the Caribbean region should brace for La Nina weather patterns this summer. This on the heels of the end of torturous El Nino weather conditions across the region over the last few years. Climatologist Dale Destin explains the difference between the two weather systems.
El Nino, which we are coming out of, speaks to above normal sea surface temperature in the eastern half of the tropical Pacific Ocean. When it reverses, where you get cooler than normal sea surface temperatures in that same area, we talk about a La Nina. Initially, the discovery was that fishermen in that part of the world noted that sea surface temperatures were warmer than normal, particularly in the winter months and the times when it persisted for longer, and so they call it El Nino or the boy child. So when we start observing the opposite, then we call it La Nina, the girl child. El Nino has the effect of suppressing rainfall across the Caribbean basin, particularly during the hurricane season period. And so it also has a dampening effect on the formation of tropical cyclones. The reverse, La Nina, has the general opposite effect, where it enhances rainfall during the hurricane season period, and it also has the effect of enhancing or encouraging the formation of tropical cyclones.
The La Nina expectation, Mr. Destin further explains, is why meteorologists predict there will be 10 to 16 named storms this hurricane season.
That has contributed significantly. It also has caused some level of uncertainty, since we're not quite sure how intense the La Nina will eventually be. The more intense, the higher the probability of we'll see the numbers in the higher range. So if it becomes a very strong La Nina, then we will likely see numbers closer to 16. If it remains weak, or if it forms and stays weak, then we could likely see the numbers in the low range or the lower half of that range.
Jamaica has recorded a modest GDP growth for the first quarter of 2016.
There were 197,000 visitors to Jamaica's shores in the first quarter of this year, reflecting a modest growth in the country's tourism product. Sharing the details at a press conference recently, Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, Colin Bullock, notes that cruise passengers accounted for the highest growth, improving by a whopping 19%. Meanwhile, stopover arrivals recorded a jump of 3.2%. Visitor expenditure also grew by 7.7%, recording at $733.4 million. In the meantime, the PIOJ boss noted that Jamaica's 13% unemployment rate recorded in January this year is 1 percentage point lower than it was a year ago.
The number of persons employed increased by 31,400 persons relative to January 2015. There was an increase in the labor force by 21,500 persons to 1,341,700 persons due to the following factors. There was a natural increase in the working age population by 4,100 persons. That is, there were 4,100 more persons within the age group 14 years and older, and also there was a contraction of 17,500 in the number of persons outside the labor force.
Mr. Bullock says the main reason for the contraction, as noted in a survey conducted by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica earlier this year, was that fewer persons indicated their unwillingness to work.
21,500 less persons indicated that they did not want work. 1,900 less persons indicated that they do not need a job. And 1,600 less persons indicated that they were at school part-time. The total number of employed persons as at January 2016 stood at 1,163,000. An examination of the employed labor force by industry group revealed that 11 of the 16 industry groups recorded higher employment levels.
The Venezuelan president has expressed some choice words for the OAS Secretary General. Here's more.
Embattled Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is seeing red in light of the Organization of American States, OAS, calling an emergency meeting on Wednesday to discuss the institutional crisis facing Venezuela. OAS Secretary General Luis Almagro says Venezuela is, quote, at risk of falling immediately into a situation of illegitimacy, end quote. Recently, Maduro declared a 60-day state of emergency amid a worsening economic crisis and political instability, which has him in a standoff with the opposition-controlled Legislative Assembly. OAS members are expected to vote on a draft declaration at the meeting in Washington, D.C., which, if successful, could lead to Venezuela's suspension from the OAS. Describing the move as meddling, President Maduro called on his countrymen to stage a big anti-imperialist and anti-Almagro march also on Wednesday, and the socialist leader didn't stop there. According to the BBC, the Venezuelan president told a rally, quote, "Mr. Almagro, you can take your democratic charter, put it into a thin tube and shove it wherever it fits. Venezuela must be respected," end quote. President Maduro and OAS Secretary General Luis Almagro have had other run-ins recently, with Maduro accusing Almagro of being a CIA agent. Earlier this month, following the declaration of the state of emergency, Mr. Almagro encouraged the Venezuelan president to give back the National Assembly its legitimate power and to release political prisoners. The OAS Secretary General also described Mr. Maduro as a traitor to his people and political ethics, as his actions would bring unbearable suffering on Venezuelans.
Proposing an increase in the number of security at schools, Oral Reed, chairman of the Caribbean Association of Security Professionals, made the comments based on the number of violence happening in schools in the Caribbean.
This is specifically so because common sense would dictate that if you have a security officer who is covering the entrance to a facility, that same officer is not the most appropriate person to respond to a student or a teacher who may need some support at some other extreme point of the facility.
Mr. Reed says scanning devices are essential and will offer a level of comfort for teachers and students. He explains that cameras will assist with the investigation of school-related incidents.
We believe that having cameras along corridors may assist with the investigation of slips and falls in those areas. It may lend itself to assisting with inquiries which administrators of schools may have with regard to incidents that may occur in areas other than classrooms at those facilities.
Up next, the international news.